Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I'm Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me for today's show is Jay Hughesman. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you, Sharon. And I know here's the ironic thing. In the past, we do the radio show, and I always said, well, this would be a good one to do visual because it's Darlington and Throwback Weekend. I know we probably could find a way to throw up all the pictures, but ain't got that kind of time, I know. But I got my throwback hat, the Mopar hat. I'm hoping to maybe see some Mopar. Yeah, you like that?
Yeah. Nice
maybe
hat.
see some Mopar throwback schemes this weekend. But if not, it's always a great weekend for Darlington, the throwback weekend. Again, I don't know who came up with that, but they are brilliant and should be patted on the back multiple times.
It's the perfect track for throwback. Today, we are here for the Darlington preview for the NASCAR Xfinity series. So, Jay, we've got a lot to cover. I'm going to start with the details for the race itself, and that is they are racing the Sports Clip Haircut VFW Help a Hero 200, and that race is going to be at Darlington Speedway. That is a 1.366 mile asphalt oval. That race is going to be Saturday, April the 5th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It is on their home network, the CW network, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Radio coverage, you can find that at MRN and SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Channel 90. They will race a distance of 200.8 miles over 147 laps. The first two stages are 45 laps apiece. So stage 1 ends on lap 45, stage 2 on lap 90, and then the last stage is 157 laps ending on lap 147. So how to watch this weekend? Well, their practice and Kennemental pole qualifying will be on the CW app starting at 10 a.m. on Saturday, April the 5th. Then the race itself, as I mentioned earlier, starts at the CW and MRN and SiriusXM at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So we've got a lot to cover here for the Xfinity series. As Jay mentioned, it's always an exciting race weekend, and I know a lot of fans look forward to it.
Well, unfortunately, I got to start with that good news, bad news. There's 40 drivers and teams on the entry list for the Sports Clip VFW Help a Hero 200 Xfinity Series race, but only 38 make the field for a full field. So 2 cars are going to miss the race. So that qualifying session is going to be important. Some notables for this weekend. You can check out the full Darlington entry list if you're familiar with the regular full season teams, but just some notables to throw up. The number 07 will be Nick Lights. Ross Chastain is in the Junior Motorsports number 9 this weekend. Chase Elliott in that number 17 for Hendrick Motorsports. Christopher Bell in the number 19 Joe Gibbs Racing all-star car, if you will. The number 32 is going to be Austin Green, Fan for Racing visitor. Number 35, that'll be Greg Van Alst. The number 45 is Mason Massey, the 74, Dawson Cram, and then Josh Balicki in the number 91. Again, those are outside of the normal drivers running for the full season for the Xfinity Series. So just to give you those tidbits there, we'll start with the history. We got Darlington Raceway is the 70th running of a NASCAR Xfinity race at the track, going all the way from 1982 up here now till 2025.
Also, the Dash for Cash is not at Darlington this weekend. Actually, the next Dash for Cash race is going to be at Bristol Motor Speedway, and that's next weekend. So no Dash for Cash this weekend at Darlington.
Real quick, I heard that, and I understand they want to leave the throwback weekend in Darlington its own separate activity and not add anything to it. Yeah, kind of torn about it, but that is what it is. So like you said, it is not a Dash for Cash race. The 4 Dash for Cash races in 25 was Homestead, Miami, Martinsville, then the break, and you got Bristol, and I say break, but just skipping that race at Darlington. But then it will be finished at Bristol and Rockingham.
All right. Now we'll talk about one of the leading drivers in the Xfinity Series, and that's Austin Hill. He claimed Richard Childress' 100th Xfinity Series win at Martinsville just last weekend. We were tracking that ever since he won at Atlanta. So it was great to see that he finally was able to get that 100th win for RCR.
And as part of that history, Hill's 12th win ranks him second among RCR winners, behind Kevin Harvick with 35. So he is the second winningest driver in those 100.
Okay, well, with his win at Martinsville, Jay, he also won that $100,000 bonus in the Dash for Cash program. That was his first time winning that Dash for Cash bonus last weekend at Martinsville.
I knew Justin Allgaier had been hogging him kind of, but and Hill has been eligible. I did not realize that was his first time actually winning it, so that's great. Now, Hill has won twice in the first 7 races of the season for the 3rd straight year. In 2023, he actually had 3 wins in the season already in the first 7. So he's pretty consistent to kick off the season.
Okay, and then let's go ahead and move on then to Sheldon Creed, Mr. Runner-Up. He won his 14th runner-up finish at Martinsville. That's the most by a winless driver in the NASCAR Xfinity Series history. 14 runner-up finishes. He is knocking on that door a little too hard. It's about time for him to come up with that victory.
Yeah, that's a streak we want to see broken with a win, not continue to build upon it.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of 100 wins, Junior Motorsports is only 9 wins away now from 100, where the only 3 other teams have won at least 100 Xfinity Series races. Joe Gibbs Racing has 215, Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing has 138, and now Richard Childress Racing right at the 100 mark. 9 for an organization this year, Junior Motorsports, is possible, but we'll see. If not, I see it being broken this year or next year for sure.
Yes, and we'll probably be tracking that all season long until he does make it. But it wouldn't surprise me if he makes it this year at all. Okay, we mentioned the Cup Series driver Chase Elliott is going to be driving the Hendrick Motorsports number 17 this weekend. Christopher Bell is driving the Gibbs number 19 this weekend. Also, Ross Chastain will be in that number 9. They're all racing in the Xfinity Series race at Darlington. And it's no wonder because Darlington is the track too tough to tame. So any track time you can get at Darlington is helpful. So that's why we're seeing so many Cup drivers racing the Xfinity Series as well.
Some want the extra track time. Some want the challenge, honestly. Some of them just like to be determined and take it on.
There you go.
Now, 4 drivers in the field are past Xfinity Series Darlington winners. You have Justin Allgaier, who has 3 victories. Chase Elliott does have 1, as well as Christopher Bell. And then add Brandon Jones to that list. So Allgaier, Xfinity Series regular, one you're going to have to go through with 3 wins.
Okay, a couple of notes here on Justin Allgaier. He's the only driver to sweep both stages and the race at Darlington. He did that last year in May. So, wow, that's quite a distinction.
And he's also finished inside the top 10 in 8 straight Darlington races, 1 away from tying Mark Martin for the longest streak in the Xfinity Series history at Darlington Raceway. Now, that's the kind of streak you want to have your name on that list.
Absolutely. Justin Allgaier is putting his name in the history books for sure. As an Xfinity Series driver, he's been amazing. Now, Sheldon Creed has 2, Christian Eckes 1, Ross Chastain 1, and those are wins in the Craftsman Truck Series at Darlington, and they're all entered this weekend in the Xfinity Series race. So they have wins, but in the Truck Series, we'll see if they can add the Xfinity Series to their list of wins.
Well, Sheldon Creed's going to be on this list coincidentally, but he's not alone. 4 drivers have finished runner-up at Darlington in the Xfinity Series, but still winless there. Austin Hill's done it twice and leads the way. Ross Chastain, Sheldon Creed, and Harrison Burton have finished second. Each of them won.
3 of the last 10 Darlington Xfinity Series races have featured last lap passes. And the pass for the win came in the final 10 laps in 9 of the last 10 races at the track. So expect that this weekend at Darlington.
Well, every track's a little different. We're going to look at and talk about starting up front. So 3 former Xfinity Series Darlington pole winners are entered into this weekend. 2 of them happen to be the Cup stars coming back. Christopher Bell and Ross Chastain each have one, as well as Brandon Jones. And we're seeing a lot of the same names here when it comes to poles and wins.
All right. We're always looking for little cues we can watch for to see who's going to win this race. Well, the Stage 1 winner has won 4 of the last 5 Darlington Xfinity Series winners. So watch out for whoever wins that first stage. They might end up being the winner.
And as always, you want to stay till it's over, because 4 of the last 8 Darlington Xfinity Series races have finished in overtime.
So don't leave early. Stay there.
That's right.
Weekend. Okay, the last 5 Xfinity Series races at Darlington have been won by 5 different drivers. So we could see another different driver win this weekend.
Oh, I always like to see that kind of streak, the competitiveness, and so looking for number 6 there. Now, we talked about the 2 organizations looking for extending wins, and just at Darlington, it's Junior Motorsports with 5, and then Joe Gibbs Racing with 3 have combined to win 8 of the last 9 Darlington Xfinity Series races. And I wish I could tell you who that odd one out is, but it doesn't tell us that, and I don't know it off the top of my head.
Well, I'll tell you, one of those 2 teams is probably going to win this weekend. Okay.
Safe bet, yeah.
Okay, now 13 drivers had or tied their best finish of the season at Martinsville, including 2 who made their series debuts. Well, that's interesting.
And so far this year, we've had 4 races that have ended with a last lap pass, and that is the most through 7 races in a season.
And 4 of the 7 races this season have gone into overtime. So with the overtime stat we just read a few minutes ago, I would say there's a good chance we'll have an overtime finish.
Good possibility. Now we're going to look at season-long stats for a couple of individual drivers. Sam Mayer, he's the only driver to finish in the top 10 in 6 of the 7 races so far this season.
And Ryan Sieg is the only driver to finish in the top 25 in all 7 races this season.
Wow, I know he's been having a stellar start to the year. That's great to see. Again, all by himself on that list of top 25 finishes. These lists have gotten 7 races in, gotten a little shorter each and every week. Justin Allgaier is now the only driver to finish on the lead lap in all 7 races for 2025.
Okay, now Sammy Smith scored 19 more stage points through 7 races than he did last year. That's the biggest improvement of any of the full-time drivers. Now, he had some bad news this week, but that is a good stat all the same.
Most certainly is. I want to throw one more back about Justin Allgaier. He's the only driver to earn the multiple Fast Lap Awards in 2025. That Xfinity Fast Lap Award they're doing this year, Allgaier, the only one to have earned that more than once.
Now, Daniel Dye's 9.3 average finish over the last 3 races leads all of 8 of the rookies. And the rookie race this year it's been interesting already in their first 7 races, but it's going to be even more interesting, I think, as this season progresses.
And I know you and I, this is one we've definitely been keeping our eye on. It seems like, again, half of the rookie field of 9 have a good race, half as bad. To see how it averages it out, I don't know if I'd have had Daniel Dye as the best average finisher. So that's great. He is one of the ones I like. I still pull in for William Sawalich. Unfortunately, he's been on that bad side more often than not. But I have faith through the rest of the season they'll turn it around. Yeah, so there you go, second half. Now for the Xfinity Series, this isn't all that surprising, but the average age of pole winners this season is 21, while the average age of a race winner is up as high as 30.
Interesting. Now, Chevrolet led 943 of the 1,219 laps so far this season. That's 77.73%. So Chevrolet definitely has been the dominating manufacturer.
And for the first time in Xfinity Series history, rookies swept the front row in qualifying the last 2 weeks. And I did not realize it had been 2 weeks in a row. That tells you these rookies got speed. They just got to work on putting the whole race together and getting the finishes to go with it now. And that's what rookies are there for, right?
Absolutely. We haven't had a chance to talk about Brennan Poole too much, but we've got a stat here for him. He's finished better than he started in each of the last 6 races, including Martinsville, when he finished 4th after starting 29th. So big improvements there for Brennan Poole.
And that is one of those unfortunate, with all the things that go on and drivers or teams that get highlighted, RCR getting their 100th win and all, that Brennan Poole's 4th place finish did kind of get overlooked. So big shout out to him and that team there.
Absolutely.
Richard Childress Racing, talking about their 100 wins, is winless at Darlington in the Xfinity Series, but does have 5 runner-up finishes there. How about that?
That's pretty cool. Okay, now if there's ever a venue that's set to bring its A game following last week's Martinsville race, the NASCAR Xfinity Series should be in really good shape this Saturday for their race at Darlington. Again, it is a 1.366 mile track and has a fantastic history of high drama and important races on the schedule. It doesn't matter what series we're talking about. There's always storylines coming out of Darlington Raceway. Justin Allgaier shows up at Darlington with the championship lead by 41 points. He leads by 41 points over the Haas factory team driver Sam Mayer in 2nd. He's 47 points over Richard Childress Racing's Austin Hill in 3rd. And Austin collected his 2nd win of the season last Saturday at Martinsville. Justin Allgaier is the only multiple winner so far this season. 6th in the championship points this year is another young driver, one of the rookies, 18-year-old Connor Zilisch. He's the driver of the number 88 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet. And it was announced last Thursday that he is going to make his 2nd NASCAR Cup Series start for Trackhouse Racing. He's actually signed with Trackhouse Racing on loan to Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series. He's going to be racing the Coca-Cola 600, Jay, at Charlotte over the Memorial Day weekend. So good news for Connor Zilisch. I think that's going to be fantastic to see what he does.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how they go about his progression level and what tracks they put him on, and get him in that experience. And we're talking about those rookies. We do have 3 in the top 12. 13th is also a rookie right there with him, Taylor Gray, just outside. So yes, those are the ones that are more often than not doing good. But, that's great news for Connor Zilisch. And we've seen this, the talent he has. If you don't know the name, you better be learning it and how to pronounce it and who he is, because he's coming.
Yes. Now, we mentioned that the last 5 races have had 5 different winners. Allgaier is the defending winner of this race from the spring of last year. His 3 trophies at the track, Too Tough to Tame, is the most among the full-timers, and we've also mentioned that. He's on an 8-race streak of top 10 finishes at Darlington, 1 away from matching NASCAR Hall of Famer Mark Martin on that record. And Justin Allgaier is really good at Darlington Raceway. So I would say, I know he's racing against some of the Cup Series regulars this weekend, but I would say Justin Allgaier is one of the ones to watch this weekend at Darlington.
Yeah, you absolutely cannot argue against that. I'm gonna say, though, going out just a little bit of a dark horse pick, and I hate to use that term with Harrison Burton, but We've seen Harrison Burton make some good moves throughout the season already, getting into good shape in there in the points. Let's see, I think he is just outside. He's in 15th.
Yeah, he's just outside.
About 10 points from that 12-point cut line. We mentioned it. He's on that runner-up list there at Darlington. Second place, but not a win. Like you said, there's some tough competition for him to beat, no doubt. But maybe he's the one that can sneak in and do it.
Yes, indeed. And I hope an Xfinity Series winner does prevail. Now, another driver to keep your eye on is Joe Gibbs Racing's Brandon Jones. He's the only other full-time series driver with a Darlington victory last year. Allgaier beat Hill to the checkered flag by a full 3.4 seconds, and Mayer was the fourth RCR driver who's never won an Xfinity Series race at Darlington, but he has 5 runner-up finishes, and 2 of them from Hill. So 3 drivers definitely to keep your eye on this weekend. Brandon Jones, Austin Hill, Sam Mayer. All 3 of those are drivers to watch.
Well, and I've been banging that drum all year with the Haas Factory Fords, Sheldon Creed, Mr. Runner-Up, but Sam Mayer as well. And they really have been on point this year, starting up front, running up front, and finishing towards the front. They haven't gotten that win yet. So Sam Mayer would be one to look at this weekend for sure, and hopefully get Ford that win. Brandon Jones, I know we've said this in the past. He was at Joe Gibbs. He was at Junior Motorsports. When is he going to start knocking down those wins on a regular basis? Going back to the Joe Gibbs Racing, he's got the statistics there. The consistency is what I haven't seen. So if I were picking, I'd be a little leery of him because of that. But he certainly is one that is capable of it. We know that, and we've kind of been waiting on it. So yes, I certainly wouldn't rule him out. I wouldn't bet against him. I just wouldn't bet on him yet, if that makes sense.
I hear you, and I tend to agree with everything that you said there. Now, real quick, we did already mention that the Stage 1 winner has gone on to win 4 of the last 5 races at the track. So that's something to watch during the race this weekend. Who's going to be that Stage 1 winner, and can they go on then to win and keep that streak alive? Now, the series is coming off an emotionally charged short track event at Martinsville, where Hill led only the last lap to claim that victory. He surged forward after an aggressive contact between the race leaders, Joe Gibbs Racing's Taylor Gray and Junior Motorsports' Sammy Smith, derailed the day for Taylor Gray. So he was on his way to winning that race, I think. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sammy Smith responds to being penalized for his aggressive driving at Martinsville. He lost 50 driver points, and I think he was also penalized financially. I think it was $25,000.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, we'll see how he responds. What are your thoughts there, Jay?
Well, I know it's already Friday, and again, I think we have a full list of hot topics to get to on Monday. I'm sure we'll talk more about this. If you followed our last week's hot topics of where we all stood, I said I didn't know if NASCAR needed to step in and get involved, but I wouldn't disagree if they did. They have chosen to. I think this was an appropriate penalty since they decided to take action. I didn't feel a driver's suspension was warranted. In going back to Noah Gragson and Ty Gibbs, this stays in the consistency of how they handle it and amount-wise appropriate to the Xfinity Series. If you take the 50-point deduction, that is the equivalent, basically the equivalent to having black flagged him at the event, putting him at the tail of the field. The points he got deducted would, from that race, then essentially, like I said, put him at the tail of the field from that race. I am okay with that. Like I said, do I think it had to be done? Maybe not. But I was okay because, like I said, it was that close. I wouldn't say they're wrong in penalizing. They have. I'll support it. And I think it is an appropriate penalty in that situation, consistent with what they've done in the past. So I'm good with it.
I would agree with everything that you said there, Jay, but I'm going to add one little caveat, and I think this
I know what it is.
What?
You wanted them to punish and take action no matter what it was.
I did think it was necessary. Yeah, that's the only thing that I would probably deviate from with what you said. I thought it was necessary, but what I was actually going to add is I consider this to be like a first level penalty. I think that if they continue to be that aggressive, NASCAR is going to come down harder with the second level penalty if they choose. And it is a choice if they choose to continue aggressive behavior on the track. So, and by aggressive, to me, there's a difference between being assertive and aggressive. Assertive is you don't violate the rights of your fellow competitors because they have a right to be where they are there. Being aggressive is when you violate another person's rights. And to me, Sammy Hill violated and was aggressive in not being respectful of his fellow competitors on the track. So to me, there's a distinction there. You can move somebody up the track and not wreck them. But in this case, I felt that he was being aggressive and violated their rights to also contend for that win. So I think NASCAR did the right thing. And I do think that if they continue to be aggressive versus being assertive, then they would go to that level 2 penalty, which is going to be a little bit more harsh on those drivers. And if they go to level 3, the hammer is going to come down. Going to my ongoing feelings about first time's an accident, second time's coincidence. By the time you get to the third time, you developed a habit. And in this case, it would be a very, very bad habit. And you should expect the hammer to come down at that point.
Well, to throw a couple things out here just to wrap that up. And again, I know we're going to talk about this on Hot Topics. Most certainly, like I said, the opinions varied. I know I had messaged you, Sharon. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to it. Joey Logano on Sirius XM Behind the Wheel gave his thoughts on it. Kind of varied between me and Sharon. He is okay with a dump, or not the dump and run, but he was okay with being aggressive for the victory, without a doubt. Now, did he think that was over the line? Yes, he did, and felt NASCAR needed to penalize. So great listen if you haven't heard that. Second one was Dale Jr. on his podcast talking about his driver, Sammy Smith, and they've had the conversation. They are not appealing the penalty. They've made that clear. And moving forward, Dale Jr. talked about it. Okay, he said this, I get it, I was wrong, blah, yada, 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 or blah, 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 whichever one you want to put there. But the proof is in the pudding. Dale Jr. said, we got to wait and see if his actions change moving forward. So, and the last thing I wanted to throw out, and I don't know when I saw this or if you've heard it, Sharon, NASCAR has, we're going to say, invited every Xfinity Series driver, the driver only. This isn't an open format. They are going to meet with every Xfinity Series driver this weekend prior to Darlington, and it is drivers only. And I say invite because it was a mandatory invite. You will be there.
Well, I applaud, and you saw me clapping my hands. I applaud NASCAR for doing that because I think they do need to intervene when the driving becomes overly aggressive. If you recall, there was a time when we thought that they were overly aggressive in the Truck Series, and they've really toned it down, and we're seeing quality driving and more quality driving, I think, in the Truck Series. Surprisingly so. There were a couple races where I thought they might be overly aggressive, and they weren't. So I applaud NASCAR stepping in and taking that step of talking to the drivers because to me, and I've said this, I'll say it again, I would rather see them just put their skill and talent on display in NASCAR's Premier Series. They're in a Premier Series where there should be, in my mind, an expectation of quality, talented, skilled driving on display. And I get it at the local short tracks. They don't always see that, and fans kind of expect that, but not in NASCAR's top tier series. I think that we should see skilled talent and driving from the drivers that are in NASCAR's top three. They're there because they have that skill. They need to put it on display.
And that was one of those of, I'm trying to think if that was in Joey Logano's. One of them I heard throughout the week talking about maybe some rules being specific to Martinsville. And I'm not saying I agreed with it, but that being the highlight, that's where we were. That is a bump and run or a short track. There was some validity to talking about that. I don't think anybody wants to see it go to no contact sport. No. However, there is a line, like you said, even that you said it yourself, at a short track, it's expected, it's enjoyable to the rubbing.
Side bumping and racing. You expect that.
Right. So that's where NASCAR's got to find that balance. And I'm with you. They've called the drivers meeting like that. I know they addressed the Cup Series at Martinsville the following day after that Xfinity Series race. So they're engaging. Like I said, I don't know that they need to step in and get real amped up about it yet, but they are aware of it, and they're letting the drivers know we're aware of it and we're watching you. We got our eyes on you.
Yes. And let me just say, NASCAR does not want to be the police. They do not want to be put in this position. And I firmly believe that. NASCAR does not want to be put in this position, but the only people that put them in that position are the drivers. So the drivers have to make better choices when it comes to racing. So, Jay?
Yeah, well, as always, as we get ready to post this one or get it done and move on to another one, I hope you all watch all of our videos here today, the previews at Fan for Racing. But if you get a chance, I would go and find Joey Logano's interview on Behind the Wheel, Sirius XM,
yes.
And listen to that, because I think that is a great interview. And again, I don't agree with everything he said by any means, but he had a reason for how he thought and why, and he gave some great perspectives to think about too. So even if he's not your favorite driver, listen. I mean, just listen.
Yes. All right, moving on though with continuing our preview here. Both Gray and Smith were subsequently penalized, and we just got into that for their actions at Martinsville after the race. After the race for Gray and for contact during the race for Smith.
There you go.
A handful of NASCAR Cup Series drivers, as we mentioned, are going to be on the grid this weekend, including Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain, and Christopher Bell. Bell won the fall Darlington race in the Xfinity Series from the pole position. So he's going to be one to watch this weekend as well. Also, practice again is going to be at 10:05 a.m. Eastern time Saturday morning, immediately followed by qualifying at 11:10 a.m. And all of that is going to be on the CW app, and they'll air both of those sessions. Cole Custer won the pole position in last year's race, but was not able to win the race. I don't think he's racing this weekend.
Not in the Xfinity area. He wasn't on that list of that we went over, so no.
Right. All right. So that's all I have. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Jay?
No, just that you hit on something too. And I remember I told you I got a whole list of hot topics for Monday when it comes to that, because you mentioned both drivers being penalized, Taylor Grace for the after the race. I don't know, Sharon, if you're familiar. Chris and I will certainly fill you in on what they call a no-fault rule at your local dirt tracks or some of the other lower-tiered series on asphalt. I'm not sure, but that is basically if you're involved. Two cars coming together and spin out. If you're involved, you both go to the back in that penalty. So that's something we can talk about come Monday night on Hot Topics.
All right. Well, with that, then we gave you a big preview here of hot topics for Monday night because you'll probably hear an expanded version of what we talked about here on Monday night when we have our hot topic sound off segment at 9 p.m. Eastern time here on Fanfare Racing Radio. And that is a live stream. We invite everybody to please join us. Your comments, there is a live chat available, and your comments can be part of our live stream if you have something to say about some of the hot topics that we discuss. So please take some time to join us Monday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and 7 p.m. Pacific Time. So with that, I think we're ready to call it a day, Jay, for the Xfinity Series preview, that is.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know we're not done for the day because we got some more races, the ARCA Menards West and Cup Series coming up. So I'll talk to you again real soon.
Okay, we'll see you in the next video, everyone. Good night or good day.